With a monthly salary of 100,000 yen, Maggie came to an old castle to apply for a nanny job. However, she didn't expect that the person she would serve was actually a puppet. In disbelief, she burst into laughter like a pig. But the wealthy couple appeared very serious because, in their eyes, the puppet was their own child. The unintentional offense made Maggie feel embarrassed and at a loss. Fortunately, the appearance of a man instantly eased the deadlock. Matt was the supplier responsible for delivering supplies to the villa. To help Maggie accept the facts before her, he dutifully approached the puppet and demonstrated how to say hello. Maggie immediately understood his intention. In order to keep this high-paying job, she imitated him and greeted the puppet. "It's so nice to meet you, Bombs. I hope that you and I can be friends," she said. This gesture made the wealthy couple very satisfied, and she successfully secured the job. Next, the rich woman began to introduce her to the work process. Every morning at 7 o'clock, she had to wake up the puppet on time. Then, she would take the puppet to the study to read poetry. If the puppet was in a bad mood, she was supposed to play beautiful music to ease the atmosphere. Additionally, she had to eat meals face-to-face with the puppet. She originally thought that the wealthy couple might just want to experience the feeling of being parents, but at night, she unexpectedly witnessed a bizarre scene. The wealthy couple was kneeling beside the puppet's bed, muttering something she couldn't understand at all. Seeing her eavesdropping outside, the wealthy man decisively closed the door. This left her feeling embarrassed and overwhelmed. Soon after, the door opened again. "He wants you, Miss Evans. He's chosen you if you'll happen," the wealthy man said cryptically. Before going to bed, Maggie told her best friend about her strange day. She explained that there was no internet or signal in the entire castle, and even every window couldn't be opened. Her friend advised her not to make a big deal out of it, saying that rich people always have peculiar hobbies. Besides, a monthly salary of 100,000 yen was nothing to scoff at. After careful consideration, she realized her friend was right. After all, this doll was much easier to handle than a real child. But the next morning, strange things happened again. As soon as she got up, she heard a commotion coming from the doll's room. Confused, she went to check at the door. She saw that the room was already in chaos. "You've done this. Mommy has to go, Ma, and you have to be a good boy because you pull my stuff. I apologize for..." The sudden appearance of the wealthy man almost scared her to death. But the wealthy man did not blame her for eavesdropping. Instead, he told her that he and his wife were going on vacation for a while, so everything at home would need to be taken care of by her. The most important thing was to take good care of their son. Then, the wealthy man took out 2 schedules, which were filled with tasks she had to complete every day. The wealthy man warned her to follow the requirements on the schedule. "Be good to him, and he'll be good to you. Be bad to him." Before he could finish, the wealthy woman interrupted her husband's words. Then she handed the doll to Maggie, saying, "I'm so sorry." After the wealthy couple left, Maggie completely forgot about what they had told her. She casually threw the doll on the chair. Seeing the doll staring at her intently, she disdainfully found a tablecloth to cover it. Then she opened a bottle of red wine and acted as if she were the master, enjoying herself comfortably. But at night, a bizarre scene occurred. She discovered that the tablecloth covering the doll had fallen on the ground. However, she wasn't afraid. She assumed the tablecloth had just slipped off by itself. Then she picked up the doll and rudely threw it onto the chair in the bedroom. But she didn't realize that this impolite gesture would nearly scare her to death later on. Soon after, a heavy rainstorm hit with lightning and thunder. She was suddenly awakened by a crying sound while sleeping soundly. Due to the power outage, she could only light a candle and carefully investigate. Following the sound, she came under the portraits of the wealthy family. While she was carefully observing the boy in the portrait, a flash of lightning distracted her. It turned out she was just having a nightmare, but it somehow felt so real to her. Feeling uneasy, she quickly went to the doll's room. She found the doll still lying quietly on the chair, but a tear suddenly rolled down its eye. Puzzled, she quickly stepped forward to examine it closely. To her surprise, the tear was indeed real. While she was pondering over this inexplicable phenomenon, suddenly, a drop of water fell from above. She looked up and realized it was a roof leak. Then she carefully placed the doll on the bed and decided to check where the leak was in the attic. But the attic ladder wouldn't come down no matter what. Helpless, she had to give up checking. In the afternoon, Matt came to deliver supplies. She asked Matt to tell her the story of the doll. Then Matt took her to a cemetery. The deceased was the wealthy couple's son, Jim. It turned out that many years ago, a fire took Jim's life. At the tender age of 8, he passed away. The death of their son left the wealthy couple heartbroken. Overwhelming grief made them hallucinate. Thus, this toy doll appeared in their home. Although the wealthy family seemed very eerie, those who knew the truth could understand them. After hearing this story, Maggie also sympathized with the wealthy couple. Realizing Maggie would be very bored alone, Matt decided to take her out for dinner that night. After returning home, she started preparing clothes for the date. Suddenly, she saw the doll staring at her from the bed. Its gaze seemed to reveal a kind of lewd expression, but she realized she was just overthinking. Then she went to the bathroom to take a shower. At that moment, the bathroom door slowly opened. The red dress placed on the chair was mysteriously stolen by something, and she didn't notice any movement at all. But just after she finished her shower, she suddenly noticed that a section of her hair was missing. Looking at the red dress on the chair, it had disappeared as well. Terrified, she instantly broke out in cold sweat. she cautiously walked out of the bathroom to check. She found that all the wardrobes and drawers in the room had been opened one by one. All her clothes and jewelry had mysteriously vanished. This eerie sight made her back away continuously. While she was utterly confused, she noticed that the attic ladder had been lowered without her knowing. With doubts, she picked up a stick and climbed up to the attic to investigate, because she felt that all this was caused by someone. However, as soon as she climbed up to the attic and started searching carefully, she suddenly discovered that the attic ladder automatically closed up. Even with all her strength, she couldn't open it. The pitch-black attic made her feel spooked. While she was at a loss, she suddenly heard the sound of a car downstairs. She quickly ran to the window and shouted for help, but Matt couldn't hear her voice at all. Helplessly, she picked up a stick and banged on the glass hard, but the glass was harder than stone. Matt knocked on the door for a long time but got no response, when suddenly she saw a figure appear in front of her. Scared, she fainted on the spot. In the blink of an eye, it was morning. She woke up from her coma in a daze. Only then did she realize that the figure she saw last night was just clothes hanging on the wall. Her tense emotions instantly eased. At this moment, the attic ladder suddenly opened automatically. She quickly walked down the ladder. After returning to the room, she found all her clothes had reappeared. Then she called Matt over and described her experience last night. Matt curiously touched the ladder, and the ladder instantly folded back up. Matt guessed it might be because the ladder was old, but Matt asked what about the lost clothes. Matt said that sometimes when people don't sleep well, they might experience sleepwalking. Maggie felt unlucky, but she could only reluctantly accept this absurd reason. Early the next morning, she woke up from a nightmare and found someone had placed her shoes at the door. Confused, she went to check the doll's room. Surprisingly, the doll was sitting on the edge of the bed by itself. Beside it was the work schedule left by the wealthy couple. Frightened, she quickly ran back to her bedroom and locked the door. Then she picked up the phone to call Matt, but a boy's voice came through the phone. She was so scared that she dropped the phone on the floor, but before she could recover, a figure suddenly appeared at the door. "What are you doing?" the figure asked. The figure didn't respond and left. To uncover the truth, she mustered up the courage to open the door. To her surprise, there was a plate of her favorite sandwiches at the door. At this moment, she no longer felt fear. She realized that the doll actually had no ill intentions towards her. Even if the doll had a soul, it was just a child. Looking at the work schedule, she decided to take this job seriously. Then she changed her previous attitude and honestly followed the work regulations to take care of the doll. Not long after, the wealthy couple arrived at the beach. They filled their pockets with stones, then held hands and sank into the sea together because they knew their child had found solace. As time passed day by day, Maggie got along better and better with the doll. She even treated the doll as a real child, but the doll's soul never appeared again. To prove she wasn't hallucinating, she prepared some food and offered it to the doll. "If there's a spirit inside, please give me some sign," she pleaded. The doll remained unmoved. Frustrated, she threw the food into the trash. Turning around, she discovered the doll had moved to another place by itself. In an instant, she felt like she had discovered new land. She quickly called Matt over, determined to show him her discovery. Then she placed the doll on the floor and drew a shape around the doll with chalk. Matt was completely baffled, but when Maggie opened the door, Matt was instantly terrified. The doll had moved by itself. He finally believed that this doll really had a soul. It seemed that everything Maggie had told him before was true, but they weren't scared, because even if the doll had a soul, it was just a child. A bond developed between them after prolonged contact. Just as they were about to deepen their connection, suddenly, a melody sounded from the study. They quickly got up to check. To their surprise, the doll was sitting in the study. Maggie remembered that the doll only listened to music when it was in a bad mood. It seemed their behavior had upset the doll. Matt felt this doll was dangerous, so he urged Maggie to leave with him, but Maggie disagreed. She thought the doll was just a bit moody and wouldn't harm her. Moreover, she promised the wealthy couple to take good care of the doll. Seeing he couldn't persuade Maggie, Matt had no choice but to reveal the secret from years ago. It turned out that when Jim was 8 years old, a little girl came to his birthday party. But after the party ended, the little girl disappeared. Later, the police found her body in the woods. The police suspected Jim was a major suspect, so they rushed to the castle to investigate Jim. Unexpectedly, a mysterious fire broke out in the castle. The wealthy couple survived by luck, but young Jim was burned to death. Therefore, Matt suspected that Jim's soul might have attached itself to the doll. Hearing this, Maggie didn't think much of it. She thought it was all just rumors. As they argued about it, a man suddenly appeared. The man was Maggie's abusive ex-boyfriend, Alan. Thick-skinned, he asked Maggie to reconcile with him, but Maggie didn't want to go back with him. So Alan decided to stay in the castle until Maggie changed her mind. That night, he rested alone on the sofa. Suddenly, a few drops of red liquid fell on his forehead. Not long after, Maggie heard Alan's screams. She discovered that the doll in her arms was also missing. She hurried downstairs to check. "What is this, huh? Was this you? I didn't do that. Don't play these games with me. How can that not be you? No one else is in this house." Seeing the doll sitting on the chair, Maggie understood everything. She knew it was all the doll's doing. "Don't pull this crap on me, Greta. It wasn't you. Who's the doll? Give me the doll. No, give me the doll." Greta heard the commotion, and Matt instantly woke up. It turned out he was worried about Maggie's safety and hadn't left. Seeing Maggie being bullied, Matt was very angry. He loudly scolded Alan to get out, but shameless Alan didn't put Matt in his eyes. He swung the doll and smashed it on the chair. Seeing this, Maggie was instantly terrified. At this moment, the room began to violently shake. Realizing the situation was dire, Matt suggested everyone leave immediately, but Alan pressed his ear against the mirror to listen. The next second, a masked man emerged from the wall. Everyone was instantly petrified. Before they could react, the masked man directly charged at Alan and stabbed Alan's neck with a doll fragment. Maggie wanted to escape but was grabbed by the masked man. Fortunately, Matt intervened just in time to save Maggie. But no matter where they hid, the masked man could quickly find them. It turned out that all the walls in the castle were connected. In a panic, they hid in a passageway. Only then did they discover that the masked man had always lived here. Looking at her lost red dress on the bed, Maggie realized that the masked man had been spying on her all along. She picked up the letter left by the wealthy couple on the table and finally understood the whole truth. "We will not be back the girl. It's yours now. She's yours to love again." It turned out that 20 years ago, the wealthy couple discovered that their son had killed a girl. To prevent their son from facing legal punishment, they deliberately set fire and claimed that their son had burned to death. But in reality, they hid their son in a secret room in the castle. Because of their old age, they were no longer capable of taking care of their son. So they hired young nannies with high salaries to look after the doll. In fact, they were taking care of their son hiding in the secret room. All the paranormal events that had occurred before were actually done by Jim. Knowing the truth, Maggie was devastated, but there was no time to think now. Escaping was the priority. After wandering around for a while, they found the exit, but the door of the exit wouldn't open no matter what. At this moment, Jim caught up with them. With just a few moves, he knocked out Matt. In the critical moment, Maggie opened the exit and escaped, but she suddenly stopped at the doorway because she couldn't leave Matt behind. Then she returned to the villa regardless of everything, found a screwdriver, and put it in her pocket. Seeing Jim walking towards her, she lied that she came back for credibility because she had promised the wealthy couple to take good care of Jim. "Roms, it's time for bed now. Roms, I said it's time for bed. Let's go. You know the rules." Jim obediently came to the bedroom like a child. Although his body was that of an adult, because he had never seen daylight since childhood, his mind was still like that of an 8-year-old child. He only became violent when provoked. Following Maggie's instructions, he obediently lay down on the bed, but he wanted a goodnight kiss from Maggie. Seeing this, Maggie bent down and fiercely stabbed Jim in the waist with the screwdriver. Ah! In the critical moment, Maggie pulled the screwdriver out of Jim's body, then heavily stabbed Jim's stomach again. Unable to bear it any longer, Jim eventually collapsed on the ground. Then Maggie quickly found Matt and drove away from this terrifying place with Matt. However, Jim didn't die. He pieced the doll back together piece by piece. Perhaps in his heart, the doll was another version of himself.